All right, it is 6 o'clock. Welcome to the meeting of the Town Council for Tuesday, October 5th, 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and we had just come out of closed session, so I will take it to legal counsel. Is there any reportable action on the conference with real property negotiators?
Thank you. The Town Council met in closed session with respect to the two items on the closed session agenda. There is no reportable action on either of those items, and that concludes the report.
Very good, thank you. We'll begin with our roll call, please.
Council members Dennison.
Here.
Droz.
Here.
Lombardo.
Here.
Schooler.
Here.
And Mayor Abel.
Here. We'll have our Pledge of Allegiance tonight, led by our town attorney, Thomas Jacks. So please join us for our pledge.
Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to our first presentation. Food bank presentation. Fine program.
Good evening, council members. Thank you so much for having me present today. My name is Debbie Espinosa, and I am the president and CEO of Find Food Bank. We are the regional food bank in the Feeding America system that serves the desert region of California. We serve over a 5,000 square mile area that covers 3 counties, the northern part of Imperial County through the Salton Sea up to Anza, which is headed west out towards the San Diego area, up to the high desert, which incorporates all of the Morongo Basin, as well as Yucca Valley, 29 Palms, and Joshua Tree, and then over to the Arizona-California border in Blythe. That is our total service area. And the reason why we wanted to present for you today is because we have been doing lots of work up in the high desert as the regional food bank that serves this area. And food insecurity is, our goal is to make sure that those that are food insecure know that they have a place that they can go and that they have a organization that works with many organizations up in the high desert to ensure that there's proper food flow coming. As the regional food bank that serves this area, we actually raise about 25 million pounds of food annually and try to make sure that we have equitable food distribution throughout that 5,000 square mile region, where lots of food actually goes up to the high desert in order to be able to supply all of your local food pantries and organizations that distribute food to the people that are in need in the community. We've been up there for many years now, over 20 years. And during the time of the pandemic, we were doing many distributions ourselves with our mobile markets out of the Joshua Tree Elementary School. In fact, we were seeing about 700 families every other week that were picking up food from our food bank, along with other agencies in that region that were distributing food provided by Find. I wanted to give you your service numbers up for the high desert because I find that it's a wonderful way to show the combination of all of us working together up in that area to make sure that nobody has to wonder where their next meal is coming from. In the last 12 months, we've served 79,000 people and over 31,000 households. That's approximately 4,000 households a month and 11,845 people. We also supply over 13 of your local food organizations with food, and we have 1 mobile market. In the last year, we've distributed almost 1 million pounds of food up in the high desert region. So I wanted to just say thank you for all of the support that the high desert has been giving. Both Find Food Bank is the regional food bank that supplies that area as well as does direct distribution, as well as all of the agencies that receive food from the food bank in order to make sure that people that are hungry have resources that they can use to be able to make sure that they're fed and that they don't have to wonder how they can help make ends meet when they're having to make the decisions on whether they pay utilities, medical bills, or rent in order to be able to buy food. We want them to be able to have the ability to do all so that they don't end up in a situation that's worse than what they're in now. And we're going to be here to serve for many years. We actually just partnered with the Morongo Basin Healthcare District. And in that partnership, we are working together to make sure that we can even have a stronger presence up there so the community knows that they are served. We opened up a branch facility in the Morongo Basin Healthcare District campus, where we now have not just our main facilities down in Indio, but one that's dedicated to serving the high desert region. So we wanted to make sure that we could introduce ourselves to all the cities up there so they know that Find Food Bank is committed to ensuring that we have the ability to help support those that are food insecure. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any members of the public might have a question about the presentation? Anyone online? Well, we really appreciate you spending the time with us tonight. It's amazing how much people have gotten really creative in getting food to the people in need, because a lot of times it's not a lack of food, it's a lack of distribution and getting those food items to the people most in need. I saw a report the other day on television about a group that was taking like the catering services for the movie industry and so forth. They have so much food that they would throw away at the end of the day. They're actually able to capture some of that food and redistribute it to the needy in that Los Angeles area or wherever they were filming. So food banks like yours and cooperating with other people on the ground to make sure it gets to the right people is just amazing. So you have a very fulfilling job, and it's very much appreciated, all the efforts.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Wonderful. We'll move on to our next presentation, which is a new employee inductions or introductions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to ask Skylar Sims and Alondra Lomeli to join me up front, please. Mayor and Council, it's always a pleasure to stand before you and introduce new staff. This evening we have two individuals who are part of the town's animal care and control operation. I'll introduce and tell a little bit about each one separately, give them the opportunity to talk if they'd like to say a few words. There's no requirement to say if you don't want to. So we'll start out with Skylar. Skylar grew up in Yucca Valley, moved briefly to Oregon for a couple years, then returned back to the community. She started with the animal shelter in August of this year as a part-time kennel technician and loves animals and making sure the animal cages are clean and tidy, keeping the animals safe and healthy. Skylar is currently enrolled in Copper Mountain College and is working on completing her general education requirements and has thoughts of continuing into the nursing field. So with that, I'd like to introduce Skylar and provide her the opportunity to make any comments if she'd like to. She gives me the no signal, which is very common. So Skylar, welcome on board. It's great to have you here. So, Alondra grew up in the San Jose area and came to the town in February as a Shelter Specialist Animal Control Officer 1. In San Jose, Alondra worked at a small veterinary practice where she found a passion for caring for animals. Alondra is midway through her field training as an animal control officer, so you may be seeing her out and about in the animal control truck shortly. Alondra works hard trying to match shelter visitors with the right pet and into their forever homes. I'd like to welcome Alondra to part of the town team. It's great to introduce them and welcome them to the organization. Neither one of them desire to say any words this evening, so again, welcome them both to the organization.
Thank you so very, very much. We'll move on to tonight's approval of the agenda. You hit the
agenda. I'll second.
We have a vice chair made a motion. We have a second by Councilmember Lombardo.
Councilmembers Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instructions. Items are enacted by one motion. and a second without separate discussion, unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comment on a consent agenda item should be filed with the town clerk. Staff, would you read the titles, please, of the consent agenda tonight?
Be happy to do that, Mayor. On your consent agenda this evening, item number 3, waive further reading of all ordinances. Item number 4, measure-wide townwide crack seal project, getting ready for authorization to advertise for construction. Item 5 and 6 are amendments to professional services agreements with KOA for 2 public works projects moving forward. Item 7, approval of an authorized position list amendment. Item 8 is your purchase order encumbrances and project carry forwards for fiscal year 2020-2021. Item 9, AB 1234, reporting requirements. Item 10, ratification of warrant registers. And then I do want to highlight item 11, certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020. Because of COVID, they were rather late in providing the award notice. So this is for the prior fiscal year. But that was our 16th year in a row of getting the financial award for excellence in financial reporting. So very proud of our staff, even in the midst of potential changes. So thank you, Mayor. That concludes your consent agenda for this evening.
Very good. Madam Clerk, are there anybody, or does anybody file to speak on an agenda item? Anyone here in the room or online would like to speak on any of the consent agenda items that we just mentioned? All right, we'll bring it back to the council. Anyone wanting to pull an item or make a motion for consent agenda items 3 through 11?
I'll move that we approve.
Second that.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Councilmembers Dennison.
Yes.
Droz.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Abel.
Yes. Very good. We'll move on to our public hearing. Underground Utility District Number 1, Rule 20A, California Public Utilities Commission's public hearing. We'll open that up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a presentation for the Rule 28, California Public Utilities Commission, Underground Utility District Number 1, public hearing. The recommendation in front of you is that the Town Council adopt the resolution declaring the formation of the Underground Utility District Number 1 and ordering removal and undergrounding of poles, overhead wires, and associated overhead structures adjoining existing parks. What is the Rule 20? The Rule 20 is an electrical tariff filed with the California Public Utility Commissions. The projects under Rule 20 are typically in areas of a community that are used most by the general public, and they are selected by the municipal agency and discussed with the electrical provider, in this case Southern California Edison and other utilities. The projects need to meet some reason, meet one of the reasons that are in the screen right now. The one that our project meets is that the street, road, or right-of-way adjoins or passes through a civic area or public recreation area or an area of unusual scenic interest to the general public. The project that we selected to be the Underground Utility District Number 1 in the town, you can see it in the exhibit, is the area between close to Palm and Little League. The project will have 880 linear foot of undergrounding on Little League Drive and 630 foot on Palm Avenue. And in Little League Drive includes the connections to Boys and Girls Club and also the connections to Tri-Valley Little League on the south side of the street. The public hearing process, staff submitted the project to Southern California Edison on November 16, 2020. Staff received project approval, the rough order of magnitude cost, and the general conditions to do an underground utility district in January 26, 2021. According to our municipal code, or the town municipal code, Chapter 8, Section 890-20, the town notify all concerned utilities and property owners about the public hearing on August 17. and the utility company's responses that we have were from Charter Spectrum, where approximately 300 linear foot are overhang. Frontier has all the facilities in that area underground, and HWD has water and sewer that are underground. The fiscal impact for this project, the allocation balance for design and constructions that the town has, according to Southern California Edison, is $1,872,000. Southern California rough cost estimate was to do this project is $1.8 million. An additional local funding will be needed for the undergrounding of the 300 linear foot of Charter Spectrum, an additional trenching and conduit for Tri-Valley Little League and Boys and Girls Club. Probably that is estimated right now in $48,900. The scope of work and estimate cost of the project will be updated with greater accuracy after Southern California Edison completes the final design for the underground utility district. So again, the recommendation in front of you is that the Town Council adopt the resolution declaring the formation of the Underground Utility District Number 1 and ordering removal and undergrounding of poles, overhead wires, and associated overhead structures adjoining the existing parks. That concludes the report, and I will answer any question following the public hearing.
Wonderful. We're opening, the public hearing is open, and so this is your opportunity to comment on this underground utility district. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone wishing to speak? Okay, anyone in the audience? Questions? All right, and no one online? Okay, we'll bring it back to our council. We love to have underground utilities. If we could wave a magic wand and come up with trillions of dollars, we would want to get all of the lines underground so we can enjoy this beautiful desert a little bit more. But it's nice that we got this funding for the parks in that area over there.
I'm excited. I think it's going to make a nice addition with all the work that we have planned in the future in that area. Underground the utilities will make it safer and more attractive environment. And I think it's a very worthy project. And it's nice to see that the funds are being used in a meaningful way. These funds have been collected for quite a while and have been unused. And it looks like we're going to get a chance to use them, so I'm excited.
And just so the public knows that when you see new housing tracts or things going in, they're already required to have underground utilities, so you may notice that with new construction, as long as it's not an infill project, that underground utilities is a requirement. All right?
Got one question. How many poles are we going to not see as a result of this project, poles that are up there now?
There's 3 poles on Palm Avenue and 5 poles on Little League. So it's going to be around Brem 2. Mm-hmm. That's the only part that is going to be undergrounded in this project.
Right. And then what did we do to accumulate these credits? And how long did it take us to?
Oh, the Rule 20A started in, I think, in the 80s, if I am not wrong.
Long time.
Okay.
For a long time, yes.
So Rule 20A funds are a part of the overall rate structure when each one of us pays our electric utility bill. And there's that percentage that goes into that Rule 20A undergrounding fund. And so that's how those fees have accumulated since the town incorporated. Those are the community share of undergrounding funds that were established in the rate structure by the Public Utilities Commission.
And we go back to zero then, and we start accumulating again?
We'll go back to zero, and there's questions at the PUC level as to whether this program will continue into the future or not.
All right. All right, thank
To
you.
use it before it disappears.
I'll move the item.
I'd like to second it.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. All right, that concludes this part of the public hearing. We'll open up our next public hearing, item number 13.
Mayor and Council, the recommendation before you this evening is modified. Staff is recommending that this matter be continued to your meeting of November 2nd. I think you may have a few comments, Mayor, that you want to walk through this evening.
Okay, and it's on the resolution is about vacating portions of a street and the APN number here. Was there anyone from the public here tonight that was wanting to speak on item number 13, the public hearing on street vacation SV01-21? All right, so it's my understanding, as staff mentioned, it's recommended that the public hearing be carried over to November 2nd at 6 o'clock. So we wanted to give you the opportunity, if you did make the meeting tonight and couldn't attend the next meeting, to be able to speak on this item. So if there's no one online wanting to speak on this public hearing and nobody in the audience, we'll continue this public hearing all the way, and we'll leave it open until November 2nd, and we'll resume at 6 o'clock, right? All right, so it is.
Mayor, if I could, I
Oh,
would
yes.
recommend just a motion to
Oh, very good, yes.
continue the item to that date.
Very good, thank you. I need a motion to keep the public hearing open until November 2nd's meeting.
Mayor, I'll make the motion as stated, moving to November 2nd.
And I will second.
Councilmembers Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
Mayor Abel.
Yes. Thank you. They gave me a great script, and I didn't follow it, so I blew that, so. They'll say, boy, I wasted all that time to tell him what to say, and he didn't even read it. All right, I apologize for that. All right, but that public hearing remains open, and please join us on that other date. We'll move on to our department reports. Item number 14, the sign regulation ordinance 156 murals policy. Staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have a slightly modified recommendation for you this evening from what was distributed in the council packet. First, that the town council discusses policy alternatives related to murals and signs and provides direction to the planning commission and staff as deemed necessary. The additional part that we have added in this evening's presentation is that the council, in your direction, provides that we return a final program format to the town council for discussion prior to planning commission hearings. As the council will recall, there are standards within your development code for murals, which are separate from signs in the sign ordinance, in terms of the number of murals that are allowed, the advertising value, design theme, sign area, color scheme, and the permitting process. And the council has seen this previously. Some examples of some of the different murals, be they commercial or strictly artistic murals, as we run through these pictures or these images, things that most everyone has seen in the past. These issues are tied. I mean, the issue of murals and the appearance along the two state highways is tied directly to the council's strategic plan. It's part of community objective number 13 of promote improved maintenance and appearance of public and private properties along the two state highways, continue implementation of proactive code compliance programs on the two roads, do a complete assessment of signage along State Route 62 and provide alternatives for updating and modernization, and then present alternative parkway designs to the council for direction and initial action. So again, murals, as a majority, if not all of these are visible from State Route 62, are tied into the council's strategic plan. Staff has laid out some alternatives for the council to discuss and for community input prior to your direction. And I'll just run through these very briefly. Number one, repeal murals is an option in its entirety. The council could allow existing murals to remain, but not allow any new murals, and that would be both townwide or in Old Town. Number two, allow murals townwide with no design limitations. So artistic murals without a design criteria, for example, today of Desert Western, allowing complete freedom of complete expression to occur on a townwide basis. Or the council could limit that to strictly the Old Town area, only allowing for artistic murals in Old Town with no design standards as well. Another alternative would be to allow murals only in the Old Town area with standards and with town funding and control. Now that funding could take a number of different shapes, including some form of public art program, and the council's had discussion and dialogue about where does the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission fall into the review of murals, and if it's tied into the public arts program, that's probably an appropriate location. Another possible alternative, all murals townwide with design standards and town funding and control, tied into a public arts program, again, not limited to strictly the Old Town area, but townwide. You've seen discussion of artistic murals. You've also seen discussion of what we call commercial murals, which ties together an artistic expression with some degree of business advertising. The current sign ordinance for murals doesn't allow that. Today's standard is strictly for artistic, but you can go down the pathway of combining the two together, allowing business signage with artistic murals. And maybe you want to tie that into a public arts program, having complete control of ultimately what that mural looks like, as well as the components of the commercial signage. And then finally, any sort or degree of the above alternatives can be tied into a public arts program. The council has talked for a number of years about public arts. How can public arts be tied into commercial development in the community? And this is one possible way that those two things can be achieved simultaneously. So staff has laid out these alternatives for council discussion and dialogue, again, tied into the recommendation that a staff return back to the council for one more discussion on what that program structure looks like before sending it to the Planning Commission for public hearings, and then it has to come back to the Town Council one more time for public hearings, as well as required by state law for any amendment to your development code. That concludes the staff presentation, and we'd be happy to answer council questions following public comment.
All right, very good. So it appears that we can give some basic guidelines of what we're sort of looking at, but we will have an opportunity to see it one more time before sending it to the Planning
Yes, sir.
Commission to review.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So we don't have to get it 100% down to the nickel tonight, or
And that's correct. And I do want to remind the council of one thing. Anytime you're discussing development code, zoning code amendments, you have mandatory public hearing processes that you have to go through. And one of the state requirements upon both the Planning Commission as well as the Town Council is that you do not arrive at a conclusion till the public hearing process has been terminated. So the state law mandates upon us, both the Planning Commission and the Town Council, that both bodies remain open to that public testimony and that public input, and you do not arrive at a conclusion, and therefore the finite detail can't be arrived at until that final public hearing.
excellent. Thank you. Appreciate the clarification. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone wishing to speak on this item?
Yes, we have several requests to speak. First is Stephanie Bassett, followed by Jennifer Batten. If you'd like, but you want to share your 3 minutes, or each have?
Each of you will have the opportunity to come up. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak to the council. You can request to be on or off camera. If you'd like to be off camera, let us know. Other than that, we'd love to hear what you have to say. You'll see a light come on, which was green light. When it gets to yellow, you can continue to make your comments, but sort of wrap it up. And when it goes to red, we're asking you to finish those last sentences.
Okay, perfect. Well, good evening. I'm the owner of Desert Nest. My mural was up there, the first one that we had. And so I just kind of want to, I wish that there was, I really do want you guys to look over the regulations that we currently have. We have we've had nothing but just excellent, reviews from people that come in, whether it's tourists or the locals. We're in the middle of the town. We're not in Old Town, but yet I think the locals too feel like, we're giving something to them as well. So, I mean, once again, I did hire a local artist to do my murals, and it was just something that I just wanted to make sure that in the middle, we've been here for 20 years, our family has been here, my kids have been raised here, we have another business in town, and we just wanted to just add just something really nice in the middle of the town. So I hope that you kind of reconsider some of the regulations that we currently have. Yep.
I'm Stephanie Bassett, and I have the privilege of managing Desert Nest. So for the past year that I've been there, I'm there 40 hours plus a week, so I am actually the first face when I get our locals coming in saying, what's going on with the sign, please keep it. So I'm here just to voice as a Yucca resident and as an employee of Desert Nest, let us keep our mural. Everybody loves it. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Are our lights working? Is it working tonight, the lights?
We also have a request to speak on this item from Evelyn Hanna.
Madam Clerk, is the lights working on this podium or lectern?
They're not.
They're not? Oh,
No.
all right. We got a shepherd's crook, we'll just pull you off stage.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Hanna. I own Funky and Darn Near New. I've been there almost 11 years in February. I also own the building next to me. I actually don't own them, I lease them for a very long time. And I just last minute got this message that the murals were going to be discussed, and I decided that I would like to show up. I first off want to thank you for helping us during COVID. I was one of the businesses that received some of the funding, and it really did help me maintain my business during a shutdown. It was a difficult time, for sure, for all of us. So first off, I want to say thank you. Second, as far as the murals go, I've been there long enough to see the town when it was in Old Town, when it was not pretty. Ma Rouge wasn't there. The coffee house didn't exist. We had the candy shop. We had the little fruit market next to the coffee house. We had the massage parlor, and most of the buildings were abandoned and sad, honestly. I struggled for the first 3 years of my business to barely make my rent. As I've watched Old Town grow, murals have cropped up, tourists have come in, people are starting to spend money. People are interested. Nobody knew what Yucca Valley was. Everybody would be like, oh, aren't we in Joshua Tree? No, you're not in Joshua Tree. We're in Yucca Valley. They know what Yucca Valley is now. And they're excited to come to Old Town and take pictures in front of our murals. They're not obscene. They're not nasty. They're not hurting anyone. They are art. And there is nothing more beautiful than art in a community. This is how I feel, and I know for a fact that it's been working. Putting heavy restrictions on what types of murals that people can have or cannot have that only have to do with the Western theme would be harmful to my business. I am not a Western store. I'm a vintage store. I sell really weird and interesting clothing to all kinds of people from everywhere. So does my friend Kimmy, who owns The End. We are a community there. We respect one another, we talk to one another, and we try really hard to make our community beautiful. I have put so much money into my old building that's a historic building in Old Town Yucca Valley. Everything I make, almost everything I need to eat, goes back into my shop. And I couldn't make it if people just passed by me because they didn't see me. I'm almost disappear in between Las Palmas and the dance studio. But because of my mural, I stand out again. And I would like to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we have received written comment on the item. The council members have been given copies of that, and there's copies up front here for the public as well.
Okay, very good. Anyone else here in the audience tonight would like to speak? Come on up. We'll give you 3 minutes. Just state your name and place of residence. All right. How many here, if you show me a show of hands, are here on the mural issue tonight? You're here for supporting the murals, okay? And then anyone online that's been waiting patiently, we have anyone online who would like to speak on murals?
Yes, we have Carlos online who's raised his hand. So Carlos, I'm going to unmute you and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Carlos, for joining us.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and lovely presentation by Evelyn and Desert Nesco, and I appreciate all that. I also have been in Old Town for over 10 years. I have not created a mural yet. It's always been in the back of my mind. However, I do believe that we should not hinder the creative process behind murals. It's 2021. I agree that a Western feel or Western look is not at all with being culturally sensitive with where we are today in our, I guess, in our Old Town area. You know, we're no longer seeing people drive down from the San Bernardino Mountains to water their horses here. So, you know, we really need to come up to speed with the creative process, and most of the business owners in Old Town Yucca Valley are creative people. They're artists, and to hinder that would really kill the Old Town process, and what really has helped to revitalize that area, as Evelyn has described, is the sticking together of the merchants that are there. A lot of us have been there for the last, I would say, last decade, and we are working hard to make sure that the town is proud of what we're doing and that the customers continue to come back, and we also feed tourism in a way that would be impactful to lose that creative side of what it is that we do. I personally, as I'm sure that Evelyn and the End and many other people, our shops are full of creative products that are made by local people as well. So to hinder that process would have a huge economical impact on many of the people living in and around Yucca Valley. Other things that I would mention is we've never seen benefit from any of the efforts being made through the Chamber in Old Town or through the California Desert Welcome Center process. And those are things that we can discuss at other times, but I would love to see some of the promises that have come from the council before, where you wanted to support Old Town, you wanted to do signage that was welcoming. We do need a historical site sign. We could use garbage cans that actually promote the town and the beautiful town that we live and work in. And so those are value adds, I think. But to hinder or to dictate colors and all that other stuff, I am against sexually explicit murals, heavily political murals, because some of them may be creatively stated. So that would have to be reviewed. I'm also against, specific religious views, but as far as the creative side, we really need to allow the people to be as creative as they can be. And then lastly, like 29 Palms does, there's an association that helps to maintain some of these murals and giving back to the community to upkeep these murals, because the sun does quite a job on these walls, and to keep them fresh and looking great would be a value add for the city to provide.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll end there.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Your time has expired, but we really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us over the internet, and we appreciate all that you do there in Old Town. Thank you. Is there anyone else online wishing to speak? Anyone else here in the audience tonight again? Anyone from the public? Yes, yeah, please come on up. Just your name?
Right now.
Oh, okay, this is on the murals, okay. All right, seeing no other public comments, we'll bring it back to the town council.
Let's go.
I'm excited. I like the idea of murals. I think we do need to look into the regulations. Being a business owner, I do see value in changing the rules slightly so that there can be commercial content without it being advertising. I think I'd be in favor of that. Commercial content like the Maytag guy that was painted on the wall, that I think had some humor. It tied into some nostalgia. It gave the feel of Old Town that I think we are looking for. Things like that should be permitted and not banned because it's advertising. So I think maybe the way that I would like to see it done is through some kind of town involvement in helping to pay for or to lease the space of the wall, and then have the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Committee have some committee there that forms a mural group that evaluates the content of the mural as being appropriate, and then helping that happen through that way, and working in harmony with the owners of the business and the public in kind of a open discussion without trying to severely limit the creative talents, but to kind of, we have to have some moderation of the things. I think we had an example in the past that was not quite appropriate, and it created controversy. And not that controversy is necessarily bad, but this one wasn't a good one. And so I think it needs to be a little bit controlled that way. But I'm an artist also, and I know that the creative urge, is important, and it's what brings us together as a community. I've always loved Yucca Valley for that. So I'm in favor of those.
Very good. Councilmember Rhodes.
I wholeheartedly agree with Councilmember Lombardo. At this point, my thinking is, of course, anything can change, as Shane said. We have to keep an open mind. But I like the idea of having the PRCC, Park, Rec, and Cultural Commission involved. I think that's their forte. A couple of the members on there for sure. And I think having town control, because there can always be something that's a little bit odd about a mural, and I don't want to complicate it or make it expensive, but just some kind of basic control so it's approved before it's painted. And that's about it.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I'm in agreement with what I heard from the speakers in the room and online. I think we should study this. I don't want to take forever to do it, but I think it's important that we create some guidelines that we can live with, not just now, but in the future. And I'm totally in support of doing what we can to support the Old Town merchants in that area. I really like the organic growth there and how that's developed without really a whole lot of government oversight. But I think we do need to have some clear guidelines as to how we approach this. I agree that the Desert Western theme is served its purpose, or no longer serving a purpose here, and that we should set up a process and clear guidelines so that people that want to do this to enhance the town, we should not get in their way, but we should facilitate it through the various commissions that we have in place. So totally agree with what I've heard tonight.
Councilmember Dennison.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I've always been a fan of art. I'm not a good artist. I am not good to judge art, but I do like things that are creative. And Mayor Pro Tem said it, the organic growth in Old Town. I've been here a long time also. I've seen the demise of Old Town and a lot of dilapidated buildings over the years, and it's been revitalized quite a bit over the last maybe 10 years. or so, and it's just kind of slowly growing. It's gaining steam. And we started seeing people invest and possibly even being a little impatient and wanting to bring out their creative side to help draw more and more interest in that area. So that part of it's nice. I think one term that's been said a lot is Old Town, and I'd like to look at it as a much larger view. Old Town is a specific area. I think it works good for artsy-craftsy things. Those businesses seem to tailor and cater to those types of groups and interests, like interests seem to gather around each other. But we have a big town. The town is very large. So I think we need to look at it from 10,000 feet, maybe discuss a little bit more about maybe commercial interests too outside of the Old Town area. It would be a different kind of market. But if we're looking at blurring the lines between art and commercialism and advertising, I think those things maybe need to be put in the right spots so they complement. When you do something like Nest, you wouldn't want all of a sudden a theme that didn't really complement yours. Old Town, I think, is like that. So far, it's grown up very well in the way that it's been put together, I think. I miss the Spaceman. Everybody saw the Spaceman. And it was one of the things that was probably the tipping point to get here tonight. And so those are the things I think that draw people in, they create interest. But there also has to be some oversight. I think the town has a responsibility if we start letting people do murals, that we have to pay interest to the other businesses in the area to ensure that their time and effort that they've put in, the long-term people that have been here and put everything they've got into their businesses, that someone doesn't come along and do something that may not be complementary to the rest of the area, to try and attract the people they want, the kids, the pets, we're looking at open markets and things like that in the future. So there has to be a little bit of oversight, and that might be our role. And so that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. And the biggest thing for me is sustainability. I want things that go in there and actually stand the test of time. Carlos said it good, they're not bringing their horses down to water them anymore. And if everyone remembers Water Canyon and the cattle run scene on the side of the building was beautiful.
It was.
But that was probably 25 years ago, and it got a little worn. So I think the history of the town, there's a lot to be shown through murals. I think there's a lot to be gained from that. But I'd like to look at it also for newer businesses, commercial businesses and things like that. How would it be applied? Should it be applied? And in that area. I had another letter I just want to briefly mention that kind of even goes beyond what I just said. Garrett Christensen sent me an email today, talked about he enjoys the business murals. He also thought it would be interesting to include residents, so people that wanted to do a theme maybe on their house. I don't know where we would go, if it'd be all of it, the backyard, the side. Something to think about, though. Some areas do it outside here, out of here in the county. And public and town properties. So when we look at some of our older buildings, older infrastructure, maybe to sponsor some things, to be part of the community, to show that we have some skin in the game also. So those are my thoughts. I really like the program. I think there's a lot of room to grow, and I really appreciate those of you that came out here tonight to talk about it and the importance to you, and Carlos online, and I'd like to hear more. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. And legal counsel had made a great point that we need to keep an open mind until we hear all public testimony and so forth. But I do tend to agree with the council members up here. And it doesn't surprise me, everyone's sort of feeling is we want to embrace our local artists and our local businesses. And Old Town's never looked better, not that I've been, since I've been up here. And a lot of it has to do with those small businesses that invested in the community by putting up murals, by fixing up those old buildings, by making it fun to be in Old Town. We have contributed as council by putting in sidewalks so people will actually get out of their car and walk from store to store and shop to shop. And we're also have a project in the Old Town area where we're going to build maybe a farmer's market or an art space or some kind of a public meeting area right there in Old Town to help promote it. So I love the idea of a theme, some signage, maybe, the right trash receptacles and so forth to fit in. And yes, I think we all agree that the old Western theme is long gone. We're more eclectic than that, and it makes it much more interesting. we also have to realize that these small businesses, they're competing every day against major corporations. I mean, you can get clothes at Walmart, but the small clothing shop in town, they got to have some type of way of getting eyeballs on their product. And an example, and I agree, we have to sort of separate the town-sponsored type of murals, the real true art murals, versus more of a commercial signage. So maybe we need to move those that have some type of a commercial sign like Chet's or The End or something like that, more of a commercial signage through a mural, and maybe change our sign ordinance to allow murals and some review of the mural process for those companies that want to put their own branding on it. But just take, for example, I just did a little research, The End, small, very cool shop in Old Town. I've been in there. There's not one thing that I could wear or buy, but and my wife and I are not the sizes that are in there, but I'm telling you, there are a lot of people on there, and they have 23.7 thousand followers. And they don't just put The End, they put The End Yucca Valley. They're promoting Yucca Valley with their shop, and they have almost 24,000 followers. And that doesn't count how many of them repost or hashtag, and they take a picture in front of that sign saying, we're at the end of our trip in Yucca Valley. We're at the end of, I've ended my marriage, or whatever, I'm at the end of the world, out here in the desert. And people recognize, and they stop, and they want to get a picture. Get them out of their cars, and when they stop, they go inside the shops. They go to the coffee shop. They go across the street to the antique shops. And so, with 3,400 posts and people reposting, I mean, they're promoting Yucca Valley for us free of charge, and so I want to really support them. I also noticed, and like you said, Chet's, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's sort of like the old, I think a planning commissioner said it's sort of like the old Campbell soup artwork, kind of nostalgic and so forth. Yeah, and people always take pictures or comment about that. And then, of course, like you said, the Spaceman and the Water Canyon mural, it's like we need a moment of silence because we've lost those, And so, I mean, I'm a real fan of it. I think we need to figure out a way of doing it and having it within reason, because I also don't want to see Petco say, okay, now I'm going to put a huge blue dog on the side of the building, for Petco, and it could get out of hand if we don't have some type of regulations. But as Carlos said, suggesting some kind of filter, that they stay not political and not obscene, and those types of things might be a good way to address those issues. But I do want to have as much freedom of expression as possible, and I know our legal counsel will help us navigate through that. My other question to staff is, you gave us different alternatives. Could we also have an alternative of grandfathering in the existing murals that are already up and done, so they don't have to go through an unnecessary process of evaluation? Is that a possibility at a future council meeting?
We'll be happy to take a look into that. Typically, if an improvement becomes non-conforming, you can write your code to say those murals can continue on till the building is destroyed or whatever the case may be. The situation here is a little bit differently in that many of those murals have no town approval. They have no permit. So that's something we'll take a look at, and I'm sure the council's interested in that, but those are not what we call legal non-conforming murals or legal non-conforming signs. They are illegal murals and illegal signs that have no town blessing. So we'll come back and we'll include that in part of our analysis.
Okay, very good. All right. Any other questions or comments on that? We're going to re-look at this later, but I think we got a good start.
Just a couple staff comments this evening. So we've heard a few comments from the council tonight, and we would probably be coming back unless there's further discussion this evening, and there's still going to be some questions for the council to provide direction on. Number one is going to be geographic area. Is this going to be townwide, or is this going to be limited to the Old Town area? And that's part of the direction we would hope the council would be able to provide. And that really ties into some comments that were made this evening in terms of commercial versus artistic speech. Chet's is commercial speech and is actually a sign. It is not a mural. It falls under your sign code. One of the things you always have to do in zoning is the same zoning standards have to be applied to everybody in that same zone. So if they're the same zone as Petco, why could Petco not have a purple dog on the wall? So that's something we'd encourage the council to think about, is equity and the equal treatment of properties within that same zoning district when we come back to you talking about these standards, because that's something that has to be taken into consideration. So again, geographic area, when we come back to the council, Old Town or townwide. Commercial versus artistic speech, and are those really maybe two different programs? And maybe the sign issue, the signage issues and the sign code needs to be set aside to focus on the artistic, but that's something for the council to discuss. The biggest issue that I think staff heard comments on this evening from all of the council members is we need standards. And how do we establish an artistic standard? So there were many comments about we like freedom and complete freedom, but there has to be some degree of control. So in order to have that control, as the council is aware, there has to be town involvement, whether it's a lease, an easement, some form of financial participation, or it's public art. But then the hard part is, if you want standards, how do you get those standards established? And that may not be able to happen quickly. That may take input from the community and going through the PRCC and back to the Planning Commission, because that's the biggest component. That's probably the most critical component, at least from what staff has heard from council comments this evening. So I just wanted to kind of summarize with what staff has heard tonight, and we'll be coming back with that framework for the council to give final direction. What geographic area, commercial versus just artistic, and then the equity, how that's applied, and then the degree of freedom of expression and standards.
Well, I believe that we would have to separate the commercial signage portion from the town-sponsored murals, and that might have to come under different regulations or different adjustments. I think there's two different things there. If they have some type of advertising involved, then it has to go through a different process, or might not be allowed ultimately, whatever we decide. But on the artistic murals, then, being able to do some type of town sponsorship and have some type of a fair process that they could go through and give partial renderings of what they would like to do might be a good way of going. Yes?
I was thinking that there's a way to have a different fee structure if it's a commercial thing than if it's an artistic thing. And you allow more freedom by having the fee lower for an artistic thing. And commercial, there's benefit. The business is going to benefit from a commercial signage. But it needs to kind of conform to the sign standards, but there may need to be a special standard for mural that is a commercial message, but not necessarily an advertisement. I saw the Maytag thing as a commercial, but not a advertisement, because it didn't say Chet's appliances. It said Maytag. You make the inference that he's talking appliances, but there's all sorts of other appliances.
There is a large
It had-
Chet, there is a large Chet's at the top on the side.
Which he
Well,
has okay.
okay.
But it wasn't part of the mural, I don't believe. So at any rate, I think those are things that can be judged by the committee that is in charge of murals in a fair manner. And maybe the commercial aspect of it is separate from the artistic way that they judge it. But I think the fairest way is to have a group of people evaluate it among, has to be public, it has to be the business people, and the commission, the planning commission could be involved, or they could be the people that make up or review the applications for the people that do that. But, and I would also like to know what other towns and cities are doing with these kind of things, so that we're kind of have an idea. I don't want to be the person to invent the wheel.
And can we all agree to separate the commercial signage murals from the artistic murals?
I think, well.
Can we all agree upon
now,
that?
Yeah, I think they need to be separate, in my opinion. They would need to be separate, or at least treated separately.
Yeah.
Maybe different fee structures or a different adjudication process.
Councilmember?
And then the question I heard, residential, do we do it townwide? Do we do it just in the business area? Or can we actually include residences? I think if you have a juried process and a mural is appropriate, in my eyes, art can be anywhere. And I think that it might be appropriate, but I don't know of a town that has murals as a universal townwide ordinance or whatever. I don't know how they would judge that, because I can't imagine lots of conflicting, horrible-looking things when you put Western theme next to skyscrapers. It may not work. But that's where I think having the process judged by a group of artsy people, it might work out to the benefit of the community.
Councilmember Rhodes?
I don't know if there's a benefit to starting to look into the sign ordinance. That kind of might open a whole can of worms possibly. But I do think that maybe Old Town could possibly, something to look into, have more lenient standards as far as advertising, because those are usually smaller businesses in Old Town. But I don't know about messing with the sign ordinance at this time. To me, that's just going to complicate it and drag it out even longer.
Well, I think maybe not messing with all of sign ordinance, but perhaps making a category available as a mural and a fee structure for that. But, I have to just go back to, we got to figure out how to do this, because the businesses that have put up murals thus far are the ones who are well painted. They don't have weeds in front of their shops. They're making the town look better. We have a lot of dilapidated buildings that are eyesores that people aren't investing in, that are a bigger problem than murals. So we got to figure it out for these businesses, because it does add to our community. And as I always say, why does Joshua Tree get all the cool stuff? We need to have like Yucca Valley on the map equally as a very good place to hang out and shop. Any other clarification you need?
No, I think staff, we greatly appreciate the council's feedback this evening. We have the ability to, based upon your comments, to come back with a structure for your final policy discussion before it goes to the Planning Commission. So again, you'll have some questions and some policy discussions to deliberate on when we bring that back to you, but we have sufficient feedback to bring you that structure.
Very good. So we'll receive and file? All right. I really encourage you, if you could just stay with us just a little bit longer. This next presentation is going to be very much, it'll impress you, because we have an amazing staff report coming up on what's going on. So please, if you can, stay with us just a little bit longer, and we appreciate that. We'll move on to item number 15.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is the time of the year where Public Works staff will provide council with an update of programs, activities, and annual program statistics. And I am going to call the person that is responsible for the street maintenance division, Robert Adams, person responsible for the parks maintenance division, Rusty Scott, and Jerry McFeeters from the facilities maintenance division, to do their presentation and explain you about their programs, activities, and everything that they do every day for the town.
All right. All right, our department heads, come on up. We appreciate you being here tonight and presenting us with your annual report.
Hello, Mayor, Town Council, staff, and citizens. This is the Town of Yucca Valley Town Council meeting for 2020-2021 Public Works Annual Presentation. The recommendation is that the town council receives and files the 2020-2021 Public Works presentation and report. The Town of Yucca Valley Public Works Streets Division. My name is Robert Adams, and I am the Street Maintenance Supervisor for the Town of Yucca Valley. I will be presenting the Streets and Fleet section of the Public Works Annual Report. The town's street maintenance crew has 2 skilled maintenance worker 2 positions, 1 skilled maintenance worker 1 position, and 1 supervisor position. They are a highly dedicated team with the responsibility to maintain 150 miles of pavement for the town of Yucca Valley and its citizens. The street crew maintains 2.58 miles of dirt roads, basically on the mesa. The dirt roads that are maintained are graded 3 times a year on average. Rainstorms can cause additional erosion damage requiring supplemental maintenance. Pothole repair. Pothole repair is a continuous maintenance issue. Potholes can get reported from citizens by phone, electronically, the front counter, or even get reported to the employees out in the field. That's a 50-pound bag of asphalt that Caleb is using to repair that particular pothole. Depending on the number of potholes filled in one day, 30, 60, or even 90 bags of asphalt can be used repairing potholes all by hand. The most requested service for the street section is pothole repair. Pothole repair is done on a daily or weekly basis depending on requests and schedules. Pothole repair can also be completed systematically in each of the town's 17 maintenance zones. Sign maintenance. Sign maintenance, sign replacement, and new sign installation is completed on an as-needed basis. The wind damage this past year has caused numerous signs, the wind this past year has damaged numerous signs townwide. Eventually I'll get this. The street crew maintains approximately 3,500 traffic signs and 1,500 different street name signs. Gang-type graffiti on traffic signs is an unsightly problem that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. There is an anti-graffiti coating that could be installed on new signs. However, the price increase just about doubles the cost of each signs, and then the desert sun is harsh on those anti-graffiti coatings, resulting essentially in no savings to the town. Vandalism to signage is unfortunate. However, it remains an ongoing problem. The street crew does an excellent job replacing damaged signs when they get reported or discovered. Sidewalk repairs in school zones are necessary for safe travel to and from schools by children and others that use the sidewalks. The top picture shows the buckling of a sidewalk on Onaga Trail just west of Onaga Elementary School. The bottom picture shows the sidewalk after the repair was completed. Concrete protective measures were installed to prevent further erosion to the roadway on the east side of Linda Lee Drive. I would like to point out here in the bottom picture, these little slabs of concrete. The town saved on cost by using recycled concrete slabs that we have stockpiled for repurposing. Those concrete slabs were demolition items from various other projects. The 2 ways that we save funds are, number 1, the cost to haul away and pay for the disposal of the removed concrete, and the purchase of new concrete by integrating those slabs to where the new concrete would have been used. Berm repair and installation throughout the town is crucial to prevent erosion that can damage the town's infrastructure. And there you can see a before picture where there was no berm and we had some erosion here, and then after the installation of berm so the water can continue on down the road. Storm cleanup. Using heavy equipment, the street crew operators will remove thick sand and debris from the roadway, allowing traffic to pass safely while preparing the road for sweeping. Staff will then load the sand and debris into dump trucks, a dump truck for removal. Then that dirt is removed will be used to fill in other eroded locations around town. After cleaning the roadways of the heavy debris, sweeping operations will commence, with the major arterials first, then the residential roads by zones. Shoulder maintenance after rain events helps preserve the current drainage flow lines while protecting the asphalt edges of the roadways. Trees must be removed from roadways after wind events for the safety of vehicles and pedestrian traffic. Weeds that grow on the town property at the Yucca Trail / Kickapoo drainage swale, they need to get removed before they can cause a drainage issue. Pavement markings. There are 5 school locations within the town limits that get their pavement markings repainted on a yearly schedule. There is a total of 13 crosswalks at 3 schools with a total of 4,160 linear feet of crosswalk that get repainted yellow each year. The freshly repainted crosswalk stands out bright yellow and alerts motorists that they are in a school zone. There are a total of 17 schools and 2 slow school crossing that get a fresh coat of paint prior to the start of each school year. There are several locations townwide that red curb is painted yearly. And each year, an electric spray painter and generator is rented for 2 weeks to complete the repainting. 371 linear feet of red curb will get repainted each year. This one happens to be the south parking lot of the animal shelter. There are 6 speed radar units in school zones that the street crew programs at the beginning of each school year to operate when school is in session. There are 12 flashing amber lights in school zones that the street crew programs at the beginning of each school year. Now for the fleet section. The street crew maintains or schedules the maintenance for the town's fleet of 71 transportation units. 21 vehicles are used by the town employees to complete their daily assigned tasks. 27 different pieces of specialized equipment is used throughout the town each year to perform various maintenance tasks. This concludes the streets and fleet section of the Public Works Annual Report. I'd like to turn over the presentation to Rusty Scott, the Parks Maintenance Supervisor.
All right, and before you do, can you remind the public and the council again, the total number of people in your department?
4.
4 people do all this work, folks.
In the streets.
Yeah, in the streets department. Amazing. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Rusty Scott, Parks Division. The town parks maintenance crew has 3 maintenance worker 2 positions, 1 part-time seasonal worker, and 1 supervisor. They are highly dedicated team members with over 60 combined years of working for the town of Yucca Valley, operating 7 days a week, year-round. The Parks Division maintains 19 acres of turf in the parks and the town facilities, irrigation systems that allow to monitor water usage and alert the system when there's deficiencies. Parking lot striping and maintenance with the help of Robert and his crew. Pool maintenance, vandalism repair, litter and trash cleanup, playground inspections, maintenance and repairs. We maintain 8 town parks and the Tri-Valley Little League Complex. Some of the parks include Brim 1 with 2 acres of turf, a softball infield, landscaping, and restroom maintenance. Brim 2, 4 acres of turf, landscape, restroom maintenance, playground equipment, Miracle League field maintenance. This is a picture of our 6-inch main line that failed on us. That happened twice in a matter of 6 weeks. And we've had numerous other issues lately at that complex. That's one of the 6-inch line repairs right there. Remembrance Park, we take care of the landscaping and irrigation, vandalism and vehicle damage. Jacobs Park, we have 4 tennis courts, landscaping, restroom maintenance, playground equipment maintenance, 2 baseball diamonds, open space, and a retention basin. Essex Park, 2.5 acres of turf, landscaping and irrigation, restroom maintenance, and playground maintenance. Macris Park, 1.5 acres of turf, a softball infield, restroom maintenance, and playground equipment maintenance. Paradise Park, just under 1 acre of turf, landscaping and irrigation, restroom maintenance, and playground maintenance. The community center, 5 acres of turf, a softball infield, restroom maintenance, playground equipment maintenance, landscape and irrigation. This is us maintaining the infield lip, cutting down the clay and maintaining that so we don't get bad hops on that grass lip. California Welcome Center, maintenance and repairs to the irrigation system and landscaping. This is Jerry and I preparing for the electric car charger, getting ready to pour the slab. The Public Works Yard, take care of the landscape and irrigation there. Litter control. Park and ride, landscape and irrigation, litter control. The animal shelter, we take care of the pruning of the trees and the shrubs and irrigation maintenance there. The new branch library building, landscape and irrigation, litter control. In addition to the parks and irrigated landscape areas, the Parks Division maintains non-irrigated areas and town undeveloped lots performing weed and litter abatement. This is the outer highway. We take care of most of the outer highways in town. Tri-Valley Little League. This is us preparing for seed. This is what it looked like when we got it. This is us top dressing over the seed. And that's what we ended up with, a nice green field and a nice playing surface. We maintain several retention basins. This is the retention basin at the BMX track. We also have one at Jacobs Park, Paradise Park, and a couple other areas that we maintain the weeds in. Unfortunately, vandalism is a sort of common occurrence. Somebody purposely burnt this tree at the community center. It had to be removed. Illegal dumping, unfortunately, this continues to be a problem at some of the park sites. We hope to alleviate this with, now that we got a code enforcement, Robert's been helping me with some of that stuff, and I hope to get that under a little better control. The pool maintenance, daily inspections include water chemistry testing and adjustments, pump room maintenance and repairs. Weekly maintenance include pool cleanings of the pool and the covers. The pool backwash system, or filter system needs to be backwashed and cleaned. The pump room repairs are done on a daily basis pretty much, seems like. Electrical systems and the pumps are needing constant repair. The parks crew has assisted with all the sewer connections made this past year. And that's us.
Good job.
I'll hand it over to Jerry McFeeder's facilities.
How do I follow all that? Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and public. I'm Jerry McFeeders, the Facility Maintenance Supervisor. We'll see if I can. I have 2 full-time staff members and 5 part-time staff members, which equals 4.5 full-time positions, taking care of all the facilities around town. The Facilities Division maintains room rental setups and teardowns ranging from 5 to 7 days per week. Due to COVID restrictions, the facility crew worked a few holidays and assisted in parking lot events this year, like Mars Christmas Wish and the like. The pandemic caused all classes and facility rentals had been canceled. As of mid-August, we have been opening back up slowly with the return of bridge, wood carving, stretch and tone, open art, knit and crochet. We've reopened the senior center for meals and bingo. Plus, facilities have had already an uptick in birthday parties and other rentals. And we've hosted several of the vaccine clinics. During this time, we've continued with the Town Council, Planning Commission, Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission with the COVID-19 plans implemented. procedures of complete sanitizing of rooms before and after the meeting, social distancing within the room, for the room for meeting members, staff, and public, including sanitizing the microphone after each speaker. Support in the technical challenges of members, staff, and public remoting in. Staff sanitizes high-traffic areas several times a day, deep cleaning from ceiling to floor. It's given us an opportunity to also do some additional paint and floor waxing and these things that we normally didn't have time to when we were up full operation. The Facilities Division manages several contractors. We manage Desert Art, which maintains and cleans the park restrooms and the grounds at all the park sites. Honeywell does all our HVAC maintenance, maintaining over 225 tons of HVAC units town-wide. And then a lot of our local locksmiths, electricians, and plumbers. Facilities also works close with town staff on projects. This was the final phase of the town building sewer connections. You'll recall we did a first phase last year on the, I guess that would be the west end of town. This is here at the community center. Our connection out here is about 29 feet deep, and which instigated the trench shoring and then the finished product. We've been doing senior center upgrades. In this case, oven replacement. There's the old unit and the new unit. We've replaced the HVAC unit. I believe 1982, the one on the left was was the old unit, and the new upgraded unit on the right. We just recently got the flagpole installed at the library. Then we work with town staff on other projects like the Tri-Valley Little League improvements, upgrades, a lot of stuff, what I do you don't see, but there's been a lot of upgrades to the electrical. We removed the old water tank that felt was a hazard, and so that was a fun little project. Recently, we put the town on its own town-owned radio system. Other projects coming up that we'll be working on are the town hall library remodel, or old library remodel. I've replaced a lot of the lighting here at Town Hall Complex, getting rid of the old ugly metal halide lighting, and have replaced it with newer LED technology. This is the new roof on the public safety building out here in the parking lot. It was due. We also work with these projects for Town Hall, the Prop 68 pool, and the North Park projects coming up. We also do a little bit of vandalism repair. We assist parks, parks assist us, and vice versa. This is all these windows were shot out with BBs right here at the community center. So the usual scheduling coordination and changes to the schedules are the rule, with all the different user groups meeting special events, flexibility and customer service remain top priorities. Under normal conditions over the period of 1 year, the average number of setup and tear downs is 256. 99% of those here at the community center. We'll see what happens next. My usual fun facts: 21 buildings totaling more than 7,500 square feet of indoor space. Among other things, this includes sweeping, mopping, waxing 26,000 square feet of floor tile, vacuuming, cleaning 18,300 square feet of carpet, washing 6,000 square feet of glass, cleaning 50 plus toilets and urinals, care and servicing of 245 doors and 700 light fixtures, and with our setups and teardowns. This is one of my teammates assisting the facilities department because we're all on the same team. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's so very impressive. I have a hard time keeping up with my own dishes and laundry, let alone what you guys all do. So it's just amazing. We'll open up to the public. Any public comments on tonight's presentation from our Public Works Department? I'm sure you can agree it's amazing how much gets done with such a small staff, all town-wide, and all the projects that have to go on. And as you mentioned several times, because town staff doing it themselves saves the public a lot of money versus contracting out to other companies. So we really appreciate it.
Just a couple other comments, Mayor and Council. In the audience this evening, we have a few other representatives out of Public Works. Stephen, Brian, and Ron are here this evening. Just want to acknowledge them for coming out and supporting these gentlemen. The great thing about the town of Yucca Valley and the Public Works crew is they care. The dedication and commitment that comes from that operation is just outstanding. And I'm honored to have the pleasure of working with them and watching what they do on a daily basis. So I just want to say thank you this evening. This is probably, out of all the things they do, they will tell you that tonight's the hardest job they've ever had, and that's talking in front of the camera. So I want to say thank you to the group.
Did a fine job.
We did a wonderful job. Thank you. I'm sure it didn't help that I built it up so much too. So again, thank you very much. Council always mentions how much we appreciate and in awe of our wonderful staff and how they serve our public. And we appreciate that. And thank you for those that stuck around to watch that presentation. Our last department report before we open up to public comments is our draft strategic plan for 2022-24.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We'll keep this relatively brief, but I wanted just to cover our approach this year for strategic planning. As you know, we have a typical process that we use where every odd year you start your strategic planning and outreach for the public. This was last done in 2019, and so 2021 would be your normal time frame for doing that. A couple of things occurred since your last drafting of the strategic plan, one being COVID. Nobody saw that coming, obviously, in 2020, affected all of our plans and what we were able to deliver for this community. Really a shift in priorities. And then secondly, some other issues such as the Western Joshua Tree taxed our resources in town. So our ability to deliver many of your strategic priorities that you already had listed in your 2020-2022 plan still remain unfinished. So that's in your staff agenda packet there for your perusal. But what we wanted to do is just highlight a number of them that we feel are still very important to this community and likely very important to the council. And our suggestion this year is to really focus on delivering those unfinished strategies and action plans of the council in your upcoming 2-year time frame. To help us get that done and to help us understand what priority you would like, we've included a matrix that we're going to bring up on the screen. You've had this in your agenda packet, and the goal tonight isn't to go through all of this line by line and get priorities from each of you, unless you want to do that, but rather to really get some high-level input on items that you feel are most important in terms of priorities. Go ahead and bring up that item on the screen, and then one of the challenges with it that we've given you is an artificial limitation of only having 2 5-priority items. So again, this doesn't include all of your unfinished strategies in the strategic plan. Those are listed for you, and in there, in your agenda packet, you have a color-coded matrix that gives you the status of each action item that the council has adopted in your current plan and the status of it. But these are some of the bigger ones that we know that are out there. And quite frankly, if we went out to the public and asked for input on things that were important to the community, our strong guess would be that most of these would continue to come up. And so really, this is our opportunity to understand where the council is on these items, give us some direction in terms of prioritization, and then if there is anything that is not included that the council has talked about or would like to see included, then we'll bring that back to you as an addition to your strategic plan. So based on your input tonight, the next steps would be hearing from you this evening on some of these items, kind of updating and refreshing the plan, bringing it back to you probably in the November timeframe for adoption as your upcoming plan for the strategic period 2022 through 2024. It includes staff comments on this. Again, look forward to the council's discussion and input, and you can do that in whatever detail you wish tonight. So if there's just a little bit of comments and direction, that's fine. You'll have another opportunity, obviously, to do it. If you want to discuss it at length tonight, you're welcome to do that as well. So that's staff comments on this item, and be happy to answer other questions after public comment.
All right, we'll move to public comment, strategic planning. Hopefully you can see that list, and if you have any comments on what you think should be a top priority. I see the criteria at the bottom for council members like myself who like to mark a lot of things as 5s. They're asking us to limit to 5s, so you can only pick 2 that are the most critical, and then go on down the list. So is there anyone up there that would like to speak about an item that you might see up there that might be of importance that we really should consider? And I apologize if you haven't had a chance ahead of time to look at that list or look through it. And legal counsel, can I bring it back to public comment if after our discussion, if that might? Okay, so give you time to marinate on that if you'd like to. We'll discuss that up here a little bit, and then you might want to come back up and give us your feedback. So I'll open it back up to public comment in just a minute. So my understanding, Curtis, is you want a little bit of direction on some things that are priorities, or we can just, is this homework that we have to turn in?
It can be either. If some of you are prepared to give some general comments to staff tonight, we're more than welcome to accept those. And then, like I said, you'll have another opportunity to take a look at this. Maybe I would suggest if you're prepared to, you can give us maybe your 2 items. That might be helpful. And then from there, moving forward, you can take some time and sort through the rest. And that's only if you feel comfortable doing that. If you want more time, obviously, you're welcome to take that.
And can we, and items C-19, did we agree that the delivery of the aquatics and recreation project is already pretty much a priority and doesn't need to be graded tonight?
Yeah, I would suggest that any of the items that we're contractually bound by, that those will move forward. There's no question on that. So in my mind, those would probably end up as a 3 or a 4 in terms of council priority, because there's a little bit less discretion on those. So these are the ones that maybe haven't moved forward yet, or are things that you've heard from your constituents that might be important that we haven't started yet.
All right, well, I'm going to jump in real quick. One thing I've heard from a lot of people, we did a survey, and this is where we're getting a lot of these things from, our survey of the public. A lot of people are really concerned about how our corridor looks, the highway and its appearance. I've gotten some phone calls, and I know Mayor Drodes, when he was mayor, got some calls about how many weeds there are out there in front of businesses and so forth. We mentioned that there's a lot of buildings that are in poor shape as far as painting and so on. So, you know, we had thought about in past of perhaps providing some type of monies for improvements on buildings and facades, some type of a grant program that people, small businesses could apply for, or some type of maybe contracting out somebody to help do weed abatement along the highway and just beautification, and our signage coming in and out of the community. So that, I think, sets a tone for everybody. So I think that's something that should be high on the list, maybe a 5, if not a 4 at least.
Yes, going off my memory, I believe, because it was tough to choose only 2 5s, but I believe I chose T5. I know I chose that for sure. And C13. Those are my 2 highest priorities. And it's kind of hard to choose what your highest priorities are, but let's see here. Yeah, like Curtis said, some of these things are already put in motion, and so I kind of scored them a little lower. because there's not much we can do with it.
And just for the council's edification, what we'll do is, as you go through your conversation, then for the other ones that are outside of your, maybe your top two, you can provide those to staff. We'll summarize those and include it in your next update, so not only the council has that information, but the public has that information as well, too. So we're not going to fill out this whole thing tonight, but maybe just focus on your top two.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Now, for me, most of them probably landed somewhere in a 3 and a 4. I think they're all important. We know most of them are on the radar. But for me, the number one thing is public safety. It has been since I started here. I'd like to continue with the coordination of our fire station replacement. I think that's important to get it going. We have money that has been allocated for that project, and coordinating with the fire department to make sure that the town is not a hindrance, and that would be something I'd like to see. And then we've discussed this many times in the past. I want to contribute as much as I can to our seniors, especially after a long COVID year where they lost the ability to interact and have that social networking that was important to them. So I think the modernization of the senior center, while we were fortunate enough to see Jerry during his presentation replacing some of the kitchen equipment over there, modernizing the equipment and stuff, the building itself has been in long need of a lot of renovation to modernize the building itself for the capacity and the uses that it does. So those are my 2 5s. All the rest of them are certainly on the list. We've discussed all these items before, but if I had to choose 2, that was it. Thank you.
Well, I kind of take a look at this and I see a lot of projects that are in the pipeline. So if they're in the pipeline, I kind of stay away from them as a 5, but it doesn't mean they're not important to me. The 62 corridor maintenance improvements on both, yes, I get a lot of comments regarding that, but even if we didn't, I think that's very important that we present our town in the best possible light. So I see that as a high priority. And then for my other 5, if I could combine 22 and 23 up there, I guess I would go with, well, I'd ask this question: evaluation of the open space area alternatives in Pioneer Town. Is that project that we've been talking about? Okay, so for an event center, parking lot area, I guess that would be my other number 5. The other Old Town item is important too, but that open space area alternatives in Old Town, D23, would be my other number 5.
My number 5 are already kind of in process, which is the coordination of the San Bernardino County Fire Department's replacement of station number 41. It's been big on my list for a long time, and I'm glad to see that we finally getting some allotment for that. And I think it's an opportunity to make a long-lasting improvement to the town of Yucca Valley with a new fire station. And I think a lot of thought and careful process should be put into that so that we get something that's usable way into the future and meets the needs, even some that are not yet required. The second thing would be, I'm in agreement with C13, the corridor being important to our community as it starts to grow, and the appearances are important to be attractive, and some effort needs to be put there. But I'm a little concerned that, and I would put as a high priority the Yucca Valley Airport and a potential partnership, because I'm afraid that we are in risk of losing our airport, and I consider it to be a public safety issue, and I don't want to see it disappear. And I think that if too much time goes by without something being done about it, it's at risk of being lost. And it's a great community asset that I would hate to see disappear.
All right. Any members of the public who'd like to make a comment, any of those that seem like big priorities to you? We'd love to hear from you. Just give us your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes or less.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Jason Cabale. I currently live over here in Yucca Valley. I've been a resident of the area for over 40 years. I happen to agree with Councilman Lombardo. I currently am a pilot here at the airport. I believe that that's definitely a public safety issue. It's been used several times for fires. We can convert that into a place where they can do air operations out of this area to protect the local community. So I think it is an asset to the community, and I think that it does consider some thought and some also assistance from the town in whatever way that they see that they may be able to assist us to keep that here, especially with the town growing so much. There's millions and millions of people that visit the local national park, and there are quite a few that fly in from either LAX or even down in Palm Springs and use this as a hub to get around here. Those that have a little bit more resources than maybe most of us. So, anyways, I think it's a good something good that the town should look into to help facilitate that remaining in the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Anyone online? All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, Mayor. Not to put you on the spot, but you only give me 1.5, so if you want to, if you want to kick in another 5, that'd be very helpful. If you
I do have a 5, I'll make it public, but I also agreed that, coordinating with the San Bernardino Fire Department is extremely important in getting, that's always been one of our top priorities is public safety, as mentioned, so, but I have a lot of 4s there you can look at. You can always make those 5s.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That's enough input at this time. What we'll do is bring this back with your summary information as well as an update to your existing plan. And if the council's on board with that general direction, then you would see this coming back to you in the November timeframe.
Very good. Way to put a politician on the spot. All right, we'll move on to future agenda items. Are any members of the or council that would like to have an agenda item added in the future that's not already slated?
I've talked about it in the past, about the airport, getting an update on what discussions have happened with the airport and...
Understood. We have that scheduled, I think, for November.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll move on to public comments. The town council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in the forfeiture of your public comment privileges. Town council is prohibited by state law, from taking action or discussing items not on the printed agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone wishing to speak on public comments section?
Yes, we have a few requests to speak here. First is Mike Latuca, followed by Bridget Cavelti.
Thank you. Come on forward. When you hear that beeping sound, since our lights aren't working, you can continue to finish up your comments, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. My name is Mike Latuca, local resident here in Yucca Valley, 3.5 years retired here, love it here, and appreciate everything that you all do. I signed my son up recently, he's an 8th grader at La Contenta, for the Yucca Valley Lobos football team. And I was surprised to learn that the home games have to be in Big Bear, because the Yucca Valley High School is not offering them the opportunity to use that perfectly good field. And I wanted to bring it to you all's attention so that you can maybe make this a little bit more convenient. And it just seems to me to be completely ridiculous to have to drive 3.5 hours to 4 hours sometimes for a game when it could be right here at home. And the irony is that every single one of these kids, with the exception of one, and they're practicing right now, right behind us. And every single one, with the exception of one, is going to be a freshman at Yucca Valley High School next year, and they're not being given an opportunity to utilize the local resources that we have. So that's all I have, but if I may just say about the mural, issue. I think that local residents that have businesses here should have a little bit of leeway. I think that you should give them the opportunity to advertise commercially with some humor, some nostalgia, perhaps, and the big corporations that don't have any real sweat here in our town, they don't get that. Make it cool to live here and have a business here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm assuming you've already spoken to the school district as well?
We have.
Okay.
We're waiting for a response back, and we just hope that the town could itself, the season's almost over, and there's only 2 home games a year on their schedule, so there's one last game, and it would be so cool to these kids and to the parents to have that last game here truly at home. And these kids, it's their last game here before they go to Yucca Valley High. So if we can maybe rally as a community and make that a reality for them, I think that'd be very, very worthwhile.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you all so much.
Uh-huh.
Next, we have Bridget Cavelti, followed by Pete Martinez.
Hi, I'm Bridget Cavelti, a resident of Yucca Valley. Hello. We're here tonight to inform you and talk about how we've been treated by the Morongo Unified School District. Our group of parents have been attending school board meetings, 4 consecutive meetings, to ask them to please put an agenda item on a meeting or call for a special meeting, and we've been completely ignored. We've sent several emails to them with no response whatsoever. We are asking for math choice for the kids, and they have just not responded to us in any way, shape, or form. So we're getting frustrated. We're going there to try to stand up for our kids and our beliefs and our freedoms, and to be ignored by a school board is, it's sad to us. So, sorry, I'm nervous. We're getting treated like we're a mob or protesters. They don't acknowledge us. There's no hello. There's just nothing, no response at all. It's like talking to a block wall when we go there. They won't even speak to us about these things that we're concerned with for our own children and things that are going on in our community at our schools. So we are here tonight to see if there's any way that you, as a town council, would be able to help us get through to the school board. We would ask that you would put this on your agenda for your next meeting or for a future meeting to speak with us on this subject. And we would love to speak with you about it, see if you had any ideas or any input for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pete Martinez.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, and those in attendance. Right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to kind of piggyback off of what Ms. Cavelti was just speaking about, and that's mass choice for our children. I'm also one of those people who have showed up at the last 4 district meetings at the Joshua Tree Elementary, only to be pretty much ignored, treated like almost like second-rate citizens. We've been asking for our agenda item to be just heard and discussed. That's all we want. We're looking out for the well-being of our children. I'm simply a family man. I've lived in this community for over 13 years. This is where my wife and I have enjoyed living, working, and had planned to raise our children, who are young and just turning school age. However, the current mandates that are being imposed by government officials have us really second-guessing that, and we wonder if our future still lies in this community. Therefore, I'm here this evening out of my comfort zone, away from my loved ones at home, because I can't sit on the sidelines any longer and watch as injustices continue to occur within our community, most of all to our children who attend our public schools. My goal here is just really to gain more knowledge of how our city is ran. This is not my forte at all. Something's been awakened within me when my children's well-being and health are at stake. I hope to network with other humble, like-minded, decent people. I figured this was possibly a good platform for that. I hope it is. Who just want to ensure our community can remain a wonderful, safe environment, healthy environment to raise our families in. We just want to be heard. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we don't have any other cards, but that doesn't mean you can't come up and speak if you'd like to speak on this item or any other item. It's public comment time, any item that's not on the agenda. And we'll check online if there's anybody waiting to speak.
So, Mayor, we did have a write-in for comment, for public comment submitted before the meeting. This is by Ms. Beverly Scott, and the subject is to request the town council's decision to support the county supervisor's proclamation on racism.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll bring it back to the town council. Thank you very much. As you know, the media monitors our meetings as well, so hopefully they'll make a comment in the reports that you were here to speak on the behalf of the students and parents about the mask mandates through the school district. So thank you. We'll bring it back to our staff for staff reports and comments.
There was one more person that wanted to speak in the public. Please.
Oh, was there someone else? I'm sorry.
Brandon.
All right, thank you.
Didn't get seen.
I wasn't planning to speak. Michelle Rudo. I'm a new resident of Yucca Valley, and I happened to go over because I don't have children, but I am concerned about what I'm hearing. And I went over to the meeting, and to be honest with you, I was appalled. The arrogance I've never seen from anybody before, where they could not be heard, and just it was embarrassing that this is what is happening in this community. It feels like such a tight-knit community. I mean, I love the meeting tonight. I love the openness. I love the chatter that was going on. But to see that these concerned parents could not get up and speak about the masks and their concern to the school board and how they were just shut down and postponed to another meeting and another meeting and another meeting was a huge embarrassment. And I just keep hearing, I've only been in this community for a year, and every time I turn around, there's somebody else moving, and they're moving to Arizona. They want to get out of California. I mean, we need to do whatever we can to preserve our cities. We're losing our residents, or the new residents. I'm a new resident, and I'm watching everybody else vacate. So I just wanted to, join with them and let everybody know that we need to be concerned. This is not the way you treat your citizens. So I just wanted to make sure that you get that this is just, it's embarrassing. So thank you for letting me speak.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? I don't want to miss anyone. I'm sure you feel good that you did actually get up and speak, because you weren't planning on it. So thank you for sharing. And we're very open to hearing what you are concerned about because you're our residents and we represent you. So, yes.
Again, my name's Jason Gabali. I live in the community. I have 3 kids. These people that come up here and they talk about their ability to redress grievances with those who they elect. I'm pretty sure that school board members are elected officials, and they have that right to have their voices heard. And I do agree. I think it's appalling. Whether you are for masks or not for masks, that's not the issue. The issue is, do we have the right to speak? Do we have the right to express ourselves and our opinions to those officials? They should be held to account And that's all these people here are trying to do, to address their concerns and have their concerns heard. And I think it's extremely important that if there is any pressure that this council can put on the school district, I don't know if that is a possibility or not. Gentleman over here is wearing a mask. I have no problem with him wearing a mask. It's his choice. It's a choice issue. But for them not to even hear, that is un-American. And we cannot stand for that in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. All right. Well, yes, go right ahead.
Inspiration.
I wasn't going to speak either. Good evening. I know most of you or have worked with you and had the pleasure of your company with my employment with the school district. I'm now retired. Raised 6 kids here. Been in Yucca Valley for almost 40 years. And I once got removed from a position in a private school because I overstepped my boundaries with parenting concerns, asking a child to please wipe their nose and put on a jacket so they wouldn't get the other kids sick. And I was fired for that. How have we come to this, where everyone else is taking the parenting concerns and imposing things on children without caring what their parents have to say? So I also know lots of people on the school board, as you know. I'm sort of surrounded, been in the town a long time. It's a small town, so I'm hoping that that works in our favor for my great nephews and nieces and grandkids, that perhaps you can use your elected official influence to help those elected officials understand that they are representatives of the parents, not their enemies, not their bosses, not their dictators, none of that. And I get it at state level. Lots of people are fighting this in different communities and cities across the state. So there is precedence for that. When our time comes where we have to actually get a hearing or whatever it is, I'm hoping that you guys will support the parents that also elected you. And thank you very much for your service. Very interesting meeting and very well done, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And other Mr. Mayors, former and future.
Thank you. Excellent. Is there anyone else? Well, we appreciate you sitting through a long meeting to speak, and we're glad that you did. So thank you for attending. We'll bring it back to our staff for staff reports and comments.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We'll try and keep this brief for you this evening. Captain Niles, thanks for coming back, and we're glad to have you here. Any updates for the council this evening?
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I don't have anything really specific to go over right now, but maybe just highlight a couple things that have been going on and that are going to continue that I want you to be aware of. You know, we just finished out pretty hot, humid summer, even by Yucca Valley standards, but the Sheriff's Department remained quite busy. We've still seen a lot of visitors to our area, and a lot of residents stayed closer to home, recreating and doing the things they love to do here. So we've been busy. We're going into the fall season, which actually, believe it or not, is one of the busier seasons for us, because that's when we get a lot of people finally coming out here to recreate and enjoy the more mild climate. So we'll see what that holds. But to that point, the Board of Supervisors and Sheriff Dykes has heard a lot of concerns from residents in all the communities throughout the county about some driving problems on our streets. I'll kind of paraphrase it that way. But it's been an issue. We've had trying to combat some issues with traffic accidents and different things. So they've moved some funding over and created some special enforcement details that here in the Morongo Basin, we're going to have 6 of them. We've already completed 2 of them here in the town over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we got one more traffic operation coming. You'll see them, we're staying close to the highway, high visibility, just encouraging everyone to get back to more safe driving habits that seem to go to the wayside in the last 18 months. So that's going. And then at a future meeting here sometime this fall, we'll bring in the new school resource officer for the town. We have one here and one in 29 Palms, and both of those individuals are new for this school year. Our last Yucca Valley longtime school resource officer was promoted to detective over the summer and transferred away from here to a secret position, but we're real proud of him, and I'll get you to get the new school resource officer in front of the council at a real soon meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Captain. Deborah, you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, good evening. Just a couple quick comments. First, we wanted to thank Ms. Beverly Scott on her comment this evening. So while that topic is not an item on the agenda this evening, we just wanted to add that town staff has been in communication with a local group called the Morongo Basin Coalition for Social Justice, as we would like to learn more about their mission and goals. We agree with Ms. Scott that this should be a community-driven discussion. We are waiting to hear or be advised when their next meeting is, and then after that, we would be happy to report back to council. The second item, just want to remind everyone that the county still has, at the Joshua Tree Community Center, has free testing for COVID as well as for vaccinations Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. for appointments and walk-ins as well. And as Jerry mentioned in his presentation, the town has partnered with the county for different vaccination events, and we're going to be pursuing some other options like flu and COVID vaccinations in the future. So we'll report back.
Thanks, Deborah. Armando, you have anything this evening?
Since the last council meeting, we have some projects in the pipeline, like North Park. We are probably going to receive 90% completion of the project by October 15. We have two projects on AGA pedestrian improvement and Little League pedestrian improvement. Since the last council meeting in September 15, we had a public outreach. It was a success. This room was full of residents asking for questions on the projects, and we met with 3 residents that have concern on the projects on Onaga, and we personally met with residents in Little League. So that's the update on Public Works.
Thanks. Shane, anything this evening?
Couple things, Mayor and Council. Reminder, October 19th, Town Council meeting will be the discussion on short-term vacation rentals. Staff reported to the Planning Commission at their last meeting. Since the inception of the program, a total of 421 applications have been received by the town for short-term vacation rentals. And over those years, so including 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, a total of 321 have been approved. Not all of those are in operation today, and staff will be further breaking down that by active versus inactive, approved, et cetera, but it's quite a large number. Council discussed this evening, mentioned several times, Old Town and that public square project. We have received the first draft of a preliminary plan from the landscape architect. That's under staff review. We'll probably kick it back for a few modifications, but then we'll be scheduling that to come before the town council for essentially a public outreach and a little bit of a visioning process with the community and the council on that topic. Council may recall that Under Canvas, which is essentially a modern version of a hotel or motel, had filed a pre-application with the town. They somewhat left for a couple of years, but they have returned. They've filed a new pre-application, and that will be going through the staff review process. That's on Section 13, adjacent to Joshua Tree National Park. Dutch Brothers has reached out formally now to the town. They're evaluating a new site within the community. The applications have not been filed yet, but they're having ongoing discussions. Western Joshua Tree, just want to mention that it was our understanding that the Fish and Game Commission would convene again in October of this year to have a conversation on standards and continue the candidacy period out through approximately April. We have not seen or heard dates on that yet. When we do, we'll be bringing that information back to the council and providing an update. In terms of town activity, as of the last Planning Commission meeting, the town has approved 73 Western Joshua Tree take permits, which is a relatively low number compared to what the Fish and Game had authorized for us, which was in excess of 400. Many of those are related to the sewer project. And we'll be, again, providing additional detail to both the Planning Commission and Town Council on Western Joshua Tree permits and any activity taking place at the state level. An interesting pre-application was filed by Tesla for a 16-station charging facility immediately east of Town Hall between La Casita and the grocery store, grocery outlet. That's a pre-application under staff review at this time. Then finally, we had a conference call today with State HCD on the town's housing element. We will be receiving the formal review letter on Monday, the 11th. From staff's perspective, pretty minor comments. It's going to take a little bit of work, but relatively minor comments. We do anticipate some development code amendments needing to be necessary in conjunction with the final version of the housing element. So based upon what we see in that letter next week, we may be pushing some very minor development code amendments through both the Planning Commission and the Town Council in support of getting that conditional approval from State HCD on our housing element. And those are staff comments this evening. Thank you.
I have a couple questions real quick. Aldi's and the Habit, and also the old Reflections or Gaddy's. People are always asking me what's going in Gaddy's.
So Aldi's is in plan check. They can actually pull their permits and start construction. We've communicated that information to them. Their business goal is to have their facility open before Easter, the Easter holiday of 2022. Both Habit Burger and Domino's Pizza Jersey Mike's projects, those are both in front of the old Walmart site. Those are both at different stages in the plan check process. They are dealing with Southern California Edison and getting Southern California Edison approval of electrical service to their sites. That is quite an undertaking. And the comments we've received is that's the most arduous process that developers have to go through today, is that Southern California Edison connection. So we do expect those projects moving forward in the near future. And then finally, the new venue going into Gotti's, it's staff's understanding that that's going to be a combination restaurant and live entertainment. It's again, to our understanding, a group of owners out of Los Angeles who have brought their concept to this community and are moving forward. So they've got a few building code issues to deal with. Their color changes going to the Planning Commission at the Planning Commission's next meeting. They've got sign applications, so hopefully that will be moving forward in a relatively short period of time.
Wonderful, thank you. I don't like your job as far as all the technical and all the work, but I like that you get the juicy gossip on what's going in, so. You got the fun
Shane.
job there.
Appreciate that. Sue, I think I see you back there. Did you have anything this evening? We're making fun of Sue today because she's freshly from Europe, so was able to take a quick vacation to Paris to be with her husband there.
You flew into our airport?
Not quite.
We're in Paris.
I'll keep it brief, but I did want to introduce our fall-winter guide. Yes, we're back in action. Yay! This covers the months of October through March, and you might want to take a look at it. It's at all the town offices, of course, here in the hallway, and available at all town offices and throughout the community. Modernized, streamlined, different, sort of design scheme, all of that. Really proud of it, and all designed in-house. No graphics design company used here, all in-house talent, are our existing employees. So pretty impressive stuff. It does include our upcoming special events, which includes the Spooktacular on October 30th, the Yucca Valley Film Fest, which is again digital this year, online, November 12th through 14th. Letters to Santa open on November 4th. Our Snow Play Day and Holiday Craft Fair on December 4th. Our youth basketball registration is underway and going strong. We have enrichment classes available for registration as well. Our softball championships is this Thursday, if you'd like to see some really good softball playing out here at the community center. We also are helping out with the National Night Out here at the community center on October 21st from 4 to 7 p.m. with the Sheriff's Department. And I just want to give a shout out on to the Senior Center. As you know, the Town Council, through Measure Y, increased our presence at the Senior Center in 2018. At that time, our lunch crowd was probably averaging around 40, and we've made it through COVID, and our Senior Center is stronger than ever. Since reopening, we instituted a Senior Center membership. It's free, but it's a professional standard that's held by almost every Senior Center, because you have clients who are there, and we have the membership, so we know who's in the building, we can do contact tracing, but we can also do, we also have an emergency contact for all of our customers. And so I wanted to report that we are surprised that we've signed up 200 seniors so far for the membership. So we're just so excited about that, and seeing how many more seniors we're able to serve and assist. And in fact, we did have an incident where we were able to assist a customer, and we did have that emergency contact in our system, and we were able to contact their family immediately. So the membership is really working out very, very well, and we're just so excited to have so many seniors returning to the Senior Center. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. Thanks for your patience, Council. There's two new faces that you've seen at your last couple of meetings. So I just want to take a quick second and have Jessica do a couple introductions this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure, thanks guys, sorry. It's my pleasure to introduce Ben Cartwright and Ryan Scott as our new permanent part-time AV staff. Yay. Ben is originally from Virginia, just outside of DC, and he moved to 29 Palms 4 years ago. He's married, has 3 boys, and has been working in AV for about 20 years. So I'm going to turn it over to Ben for just a couple comments, and then I'll introduce Ryan.
Well, hello. I just want to say I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here. Even though I live in 29 Palms, Yucca Valley is a lot more exciting than 29 Palms. Not a whole lot goes on out there. I do spend copious amounts of time in Yucca, and so being able to sit in on these meetings and play a small role in kind of hearing about the life and the future of Yucca is exciting to me, so I'm glad to be here.
And then now we also have Ryan Scott. A lot of us know him. He grew up here, and his father also works here in the Public Works Department, and he actually gave a presentation this evening. And Ryan has worked for the town as a part-time aquatics in the aquatics department for the last 3 summers. So we're really happy, and also in the recreation department as well. So we're really happy to have him on staff in a permanent position. And I'll turn it over to Ryan for a couple comments.
Hello, I was born here, and so I've been here my entire life. And I mean, my dad has worked here for like forever. So, and then my brother, he went to aquatics, then he worked at the animal shelter. So, I mean, then it comes on to me. So I'm kind of just destined to work here. But I'm really glad I did. It's been a pleasure working with everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you, Jessica, and welcome, guys. Appreciate it. Lastly, council, just wanted to highlight that we sent out to the community a quick update, just identifying a couple of the policy issues the council's going to be dealing with this fall. So really some important things. So you did one of them this evening with your discussion on murals. At your special meeting on October 14th at 5 p.m. here in the Yucca Room, we're going to talk about the Prop 68 Aquatics and Recreation Project. Really, really exciting project. It's at a stage now where the public will hear exactly what's coming and be able to get excited about that. And then, as Shane indicated, on October 19th, another topic that the council knows is of great interest to this community, which is short-term vacation rentals. So we hope that the community stays engaged. We'll try and get that out, get that word out so people know and have an opportunity to participate in those conversations. Thanks for your patience this evening, Mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much for that staff report. Bring it back to our council members. Councilmember Dennison, any comments tonight?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. First off, I'd like to say thank you, and I appreciate the public coming out tonight, speaking about things that are going on in the community that are important to them. I find it refreshing when people can come from all different points of view and talk about things. Some were on agenda, some were off agenda in comments. So thank you very much, and keep voicing your opinion, get involved, and that's what's important in our community, that we can work with each other to make navigate our town and get it to where we'd like it to be. And thanks to the new employees, Skylar, Alondra, and of course I've known Ryan for many years, and Ben, welcome to Yucca Valley. It is a great place. So with that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our crews briefly. One thing that I get a lot, one of the biggest comments is the traffic around town and the highway and how congested it is. And if we could get Robert to run that like he does the hundreds of miles of road in our town, that's Caltrans. They're responsible for the highway. So remember that when you see Robert out there in our crews doing a good job. I mostly appreciate them during the times, the storms we have, the snow we have, the floods we have. Everyone still gets around. Slow down, take it easy, they're getting the roads open, and they do a fantastic job. They really do. They'll show up at 3 in the morning. They'll make sure the roads are ready for you when you leave to work at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. It happens. So them and Rusty, one of the things is all the turf and all those things they talk about, him and his crew are the ones that allow us to have all of these activities for our children. Everything basically going on outside, from pool to soccer to Miracle League to, the football practice going on out here this evening. All of those things are the result of staff getting the right people in place, which we have, and they do a lot with little. And so I think it's over 20 acres of turf they take care of. That alone would be overwhelming for a crew to do like that. But one of the things that crossed over into Jerry's area too, and the crews with the signs you saw, is our vandalism in the area. Have an opportunity to report vandalism when you see it. Let us get on it. The best thing we can do for vandalism out here is to take care of it and manage it as quickly as possible, to remove that and stop it from exponentially growing, because it's cool to do. There's a lot of it that happens in this town, but when you drive around and you visit the parks, you don't really notice it that often because it's being mitigated almost immediately. The Sheriff's Department do a great job of reporting it back to us. We report to them, they come out, take a look, take some pictures, and then it's gone. So thanks to everybody jumping in. Another thing about vandalism is here, one time they had a bunch of kids come through here, and they ended up catching them. Sheriff found out who it was, but they busted off in one night 100 sprinkler heads. And so you can imagine the water, but also the damage. It takes a long time for me to fix one sprinkler head. So it was a lot going on. That tree that burned that they showed you, that was here and established when I moved here in 1976. So that's one of the things that we'll never get back in our town on that. And I appreciate all the work for the facilities. I mean, events, setups, and teardowns like this with Jerry and his crew, I think over 5,000 times. That's quite a bit of work. And I think that's about it. Thank you very much for the night.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Schooler.
I got moved up in the list tonight.
He took care of that list, didn't he?
Well, I would echo the welcome to the new staff, and want to talk a little bit about the Public Works presentation too, that those guys, they don't really like to get up and talk about what they do, but what they do on the facilities, on the parks, on the streets, the only time most people pay attention to that stuff is when something's wrong. But day to day, year in, year out, they keep the facilities, the streets, the parks in tip-top shape. And so it's a pleasure to give kudos to you guys, Robert and Rusty and Jerry and the crews. You guys do a fantastic job. Sue, that was pretty enlightening on the back to business as usual and even better. So thank you for that report. We're looking forward to seeing those guides all over town. And the senior membership program sounds like a real winner. I'm pretty impressed with that. That's cool. Did want to give, well, actually, I want to talk about this list of yours, Curtis. It's almost unfair because I wouldn't want anyone to think, because we get two choices, that all of these things aren't really important on that strategic plan priorities list, because they are, and it's just really hard to pick two and make it look like maybe the others aren't important. So everything on there is really important. So just if we can keep that in mind. And then finally, I'd like to give a shout out to Desert Regional Tourism Agency. They have been in place and the town's supported them for a lot of years with the California Welcome Center and their efforts to bring tourism to Yucca Valley. Originally, that was their goal. Well, tourism's in Yucca Valley, however that happened. But now they've gone another step and they've created this manual, this binder for owners, operators of vacation rentals, which is really spectacular compilation of things to do in the area, assets in the area, restaurants to go to, maps, national park history, pioneer town history, a really comprehensive guide to the area that operators can just put in their units and visitors can access that, and not even like they have to take pages out. Everything's got a QR code on it, so they can just scan it with their phone and get information about everything. So that's a lot of work into that. So and they're giving them out to operators, and you can personalize them and buy extras if you want. So shout out to them. They did a great job on that project, and just wanted to bring that up. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Drodes.
I think it's great that the community is comfortable enough that they can approach the town council with other concerns. And hopefully that was a learning experience with having so many community members here, seeing the town council. So I'm really glad that that happened. I also want to mention that I think that Public Works, I know we're all really proud of Public Works, and Robert's still sitting here, so that's good. But, I mean, that's just a known fact that we're all really proud of the whole department. And now we have new employees that are going to be part of the town, and I think it's great. I mean, a lot of the people in Public Works actually went to school up here or lived here a very long time. So you're giving back to your community, so thank you. And that's about it.
Thank you, Councilmember Lombardo.
Wow, everybody's mentioned everything. I want to welcome the new employees. Incredible presentation from Public Works. It's always amazing how much they accomplish with so little, and we want to keep it little. No, I'm very proud of you guys, and you make us all look really good. What a great community. We had a lot of public participation tonight. It makes me happy to see people feel comfortable enough to get up and speak. Speaking in public is probably one of the biggest fears next to going to the dentist. And it's good to see you get up and speak. And we do need to hear what you're thinking, so please never hesitate to give us your comments. And if you're inspired like some of the people were because of comments that came before them, don't hesitate. Get up and speak your mind. It's still American. We here in Yucca Valley want to honor that. Your thoughts and your comments are valued and are important in the discussions on what gets done here in Yucca Valley. Thank you very much.
You spend all your time with stressed out people then, huh?
I do.
Well, thank you all, council members, for all those comments and so forth. Chief Tuttle, you're here. Is there anything from the fire department we should hear about since
Fire
you're here?
station.
Well, I do want to thank the council's overwhelming support for the fire station, the cooperation building a new fire station. We have been in discussions, we've had meetings, very early planning, staging meetings, but looking at needs assessments and site availability. So I'll be coming back with more information.
Wonderful.
Can you make it pretty?
It will be as pretty as we can make it, yes. It will fit the community.
Make a space for a mural.
A big fire engine on the side.
Well, thank you for being at our meetings as well. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right. Very good. So the town of Yucca Valley, our town council will hold our special meeting on Thursday, October 14th. That'll be at 5 o'clock at the Yucca Valley Community Center room. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, October 19th. That'll be at 6 o'clock in this same location. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, we'll call this evening adjourned and have a good night.